All right, so let's start. Very good morning to all of you. Thank you so much to join us on a Sunday morning on a different session. Jerry sir is with us, but today he is joining us as a member, as audience, and we'll be listening to Vicky. So before I request Vicky to start the session, I would just like to give a brief introduction. So Vicky and myself, we are friends for the last, I think, what 2013 uh, HR college. Yeah. So our journey started like just when we started our CA together, and that's how I know Vicky. Rather, I would say I know him since 2011 when I joined Jahan. He was in HR, and we had a common friend. And one thing um, that has kept our friendship going for all these years is stock market, because both of us have kind of cultivated the passion for the stock markets very early on. It's been more than a decade now that we are friends, and I remember all those days when we used to travel in the local train, and we used to discuss. And I remember the discussions have not changed. We still discuss Reliance, we still discuss banks, and that's how it's been. And the good thing about friendships with a common passion or a common interest is that uh, those friendships never die, they stay alive. And I'm glad that today we are conducting this session. And So a brief background about us: we are a broking firm, basically. As you all must be aware, we are working with Angel One, Nirmal Bang Securities, and Intellect Stockbroking. These are the three main brokers we work with primarily. Vicky is our client on Angel One. He's been a client since the start of my journey with Angel, 2018. So he's among the first 2025 clients that we added on Angel One. And since then, he has been an options trader professionally on his own capital. Slowly, gradually, the capital has grown. Vicky is also working. He's a working professional. He's a chartered accountant by profession. And so uh, he will be introducing himself as well. So I will leave the professional introduction to him. And what is the idea of this session is, we've seen that we had launched a product with Wiki earlier, wherein the when we had weekly expiry, and then there was introduction of different instruments. The Sensex had just come up, a lot of new. I think mid cap had also just started once we launched the product. That's when every day we were having a weekly expiry and a lot of volatility. The product took some time for us to kind of get adjusted to. Now, with the weekly expiry being very limited instruments, and a bit of modification to Wiki's strategy, I've been observing for the last 3 months now that the accuracy, the consistency has grown predominantly. And that's when I reignited the discussion with him that how about taking a session. Let's see how many are interested, uh, how many want to deep dive into options, derivatives. So this session is particularly going to be an insightful session. It's not a commercial session. We are not announcing any product as on today. We will love to see the feedback, watch it for a week, and then maybe announce something together as a product. But the idea of this session is to understand how options work, how the derivative markets work, who are the kind of individuals that this segment in particular would suit in terms of risk, reward, and time deployment, all three aspects. And options selling as a versus options buying, and option selling and option buying, a combination strategy. What kind of capital would it require? What kind of returns can we expect? What kind of drawdowns can be seen? What are the skills that you would require as a professional trader in the options segment in particular? I'm stressing on the options part because that's where all the magic is going to happen. That's where all the trades are going to be happening. There can be a portfolio on which you will be pledging and generating some alpha by using the margins. So wo sab cheeze Vicky will professionally discuss, because that's his area of expertise. So with this, I would love Vicky, I would love you to take over from here and introduce yourself and take the session ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Darshan, and hi and good morning to everyone. I just admit a few people who are there in waiting room. Hi, everyone. So we're starting this session. Let me introduce myself. I'm Vicky Jain. I'm a 2017 pass out of Chartered Accountancy. I had my articleship with one of the top 10 firms in India, and after that, I decided to completely switch to markets. Although I didn't start options right on day one. It was a tricky thing to understand. I started with equities with a very small amount, and then I joined a broker, and then I continued working with that broker, understood how the markets work, how the markets function, all the basics of markets. Although as a CA student, I'm sure anyone who's even pursuing BCom is able to relate to markets. So it wasn't a very difficult thing. And later on, I met someone who was handling his own funds and who was not running a PMS, but he used to handle accounts for really big people. So some celebrities, some really big family offices, and I worked with him. I understood equities through him actually, and then later on, I started getting more interested in options. So let's start with the basic introduction. Options, how I started actually is I used to notice stock options earlier. When I started trading options, there was nothing called as weekly expiries and stuff. So all this has come quite off lately, especially after COVID. And regarding stocks, I used to follow stocks that used to be in high momentum. So suppose Titan has declared results and they've the stock is going up since last 2 3 days. So I used to wait for the stock to actually exhaust at some point, after which I used to sell call options. And I still have quite a bias towards selling call options because selling put options is a very brutal thing, especially in current scenarios. Also, you never know how what kind of news keeps affecting markets, and there's always high volatility when it comes to downside. So it's rightly said that markets go up in elevators, and then sorry, it goes up like in the stairs, and it comes down really quick like an elevator. So need to be very careful when it comes to downside. So I've always been taking safe positions, not to really try to do anything extraordinary. And even selling stock options used to help me make 2 to 3% a month. So if you try to put that as a yearly return, it's quite a decent amount, and you don't need extra capital for this. That is the main point. Whatever you have stocks, you can pledge that, you can have it as a margin, and whatever you gain out of this is completely bonus. So you can really not say it's 2 to 3% ROI. It's much more than that, considering that it doesn't need any fresh capital. Um, I keep it very short. Okay. So regarding options in the current scenario, earlier it used to be weekly expiry, wherein each index used to have its own expiry on a daily basis, and actually that had made option selling quite difficult because you take positions in the morning and you have organizations like Jane Street and Millennial and all the other hedge funds who try to create volatility and uh, ensure that the retail money is always lost. But of lately, when SEBI has brought in some measures, it's become a quite interesting market now. You have good premiums, you have lesser volatility. I'm not saying volatility in terms of no movement at all. That's always going to be there, whether the expiry is there or not. But uh, at least the gambling mindset is now gone away, and having seen that there are increased margins, increased restrictions on options, it only ensures that few sensible players are there in the market and there's less of gambling. So in the current scenario, I'm sure people, for those who don't know, there's only a couple of expiries for the week now. It's Monday Sensex and sorry, Tuesday Sensex and Thursday Nifty. So earlier it used to be Monday Sensex, Tuesday Fin Nifty, Wednesday Mid Cap, Thursday Nifty, Friday Sensex. So now that is gone. It's only Tuesday and Thursday now. So what I do is, suppose it's a Wednesday, so I take position for, or it's a Tuesday end of day, let's say around 3:20 p.m. And if I'm aware about how the market is behaving, I try to take positions for Thursday. And once we are there on Thursday, square off positions at 3:20, take fresh positions for another Tuesday. So the cycle goes on like that. On Tuesday end of day, you take positions for Thursday, and on Thursday end of day, you take positions for next Tuesday. Meanwhile, in the rest of the days, I keep some margin, just to ensure that I have some firefighting available with me. So let's say if I have a margin of 50 lakhs, I utilize around 30 lakhs at the time I take my first position itself. And then on the rest days when there is no expiry, I ensure that I'm able to take more positions with that margin. Suppose let's say you have Thursday Nifty expiry and it's done and dusted. You took your profits and now it's 3:20 p.m. So I would look forward to next Tuesday as Sensex expiry, and I would see that this particular option is trading at 100 rupees. So I would sell that option, use 60% of my margin, and wait for the next 2 days. So next 2 days would be Friday and Monday. So Friday, suppose let's say market opens flat and my premiums don't move. So I would move on to then Monday. And Monday, let's say you have a gap up and my 100 rupees option is now gone to 130. So I would take some position there. And let's say Tuesday, unfortunately, you have one more gap up and your option is trading at 160. So I would put my last money at that point and then I would have a stop loss just to ensure that uh, the position doesn't go on the other side. And at times it does, but then that's all about trading options. That how you ultimately manage on uh, the T minus 0 day, the main day of expiry. How do you manage your positions? Secondly, it's not just about option selling. So at times, I'm not sure how many people are aware about option Greeks, but there are times wherein suppose an option is trading at 100 rupees, and just because some volatility is kicked in, without index having major movement, that option would go to 150 because the IVs increase. So you need to be ready for such situations also, wherein without any particular movement in index, you will see options shooting up. But at that point, if I am in really big trouble, I would switch to option buying just to ensure that there's one or two candles wherein I can cover up my positions, and then again I would go back to option selling. So let's say I took a position at 100 rupees and I saw that I kept adding till 160, like in my last example, and let's say my average is 120 for all these positions, and now I see my options are trading around 200, and it's just going up and up, 200, 210, 220. So at some point I will close and I will buy I will buy options. And even for buying, I mean, I don't follow any strategy as such. It's purely discretionary, because this is not the market wherein you can have some fixed strategies. So um, if someone has read about casinos, there's a strategy wherein you put a bet, and if it goes wrong, you double it, and if that goes wrong, you forex it. So I have enough I mean, even with the capital of 5 lakhs, suppose you're stuck in options, you can use the initial 50,000 to take position, and then if it goes wrong, you can double it up to 1 lakh, and then you can double it up to 2 lakhs, double it up to 4 lakhs. It's a brutal strategy, but ultimately I think when it comes to option buying, that is how you should follow it. You should slice down your positions and check whether at what point you're going right, so that next time when you go wrong, you have much more capital left to cover up your position. Now let's just discuss about when to sell options and when to buy options. So regarding selling, there is always a market to sell options. I mean, I literally cannot think of any situations wherein options selling is should not be done, except for cases wherein you have events. Let's say tomorrow you have elections, all over India elections, and you have counting. So on such days, it is really stupid to sell options because you don't see decay very often. So apart from such 3 4 days during the year, it's completely okay to sell options. And let me tell that I don't hedge my options. I carry naked positions always, and because it is index, and you won't see index gapping up 5% or 10% like stocks, and it's not easy to manipulate index. निफ्टी 5 पॉइंट मूव करने के लिए भी बहुत बहुत पैसा लगता है. आई मीन लिटरली नीड टू मूव हैवी वेट stocks. So you cannot manipulate much in index, although it's done on intraday basis, wherein you'll see sometimes nifty trading.
માનવ બાપનો સંબંધ રાખ્યો તો કંસ કોઈ દી કૃષ્ણ મારી નાખે કૃષ્ણ ને વિભીષણ કોઈ દી
So I've muted all, and I would request everyone who's not muted to mute themselves, and we can have a Q&A session later. So let's say you have index which is trading, which has been very volatile during the day. So even at such times, I would hold back a bit. I would try to understand what the range is, what the basic range is, and at some point when the options start behaving sensibly, you can go on and sell options. And I usually take my positions right on the end of the previous expiry. So like I said, if it's a Thursday 3:20 p.m., I'll take positions for next Tuesday. And it is also that I don't restrict myself to selling options only on expiry days or non-expiry days or the set days that I mentioned. Suppose, let's say you have taken a position and it's not working your way. So on Friday, you can switch on to other position. And every on an everyday basis, I try to understand whether to carry these positions or not. Usually we do carry because it's call sell, and current environment is very perfect for selling call options. uh, like you saw that day that US actually took back its decision and gave a 90-day like a moratorium. So on such days it is a bit difficult. So index did open gap up, but again my options were far more away than even that gap up. So even a 600-point gap up would have still kept me in a comfortable position. And in fact, that gap up helped me to sell more options. And then ultimately, a day after that, it was expiry and it all went to zero. I don't do stock options anymore. Absolutely not. Despite the fact that it is still lucrative. There are still stocks that don't move. Example HUL, example Dabur. These stocks don't give you real movements. So also the premiums are quite low in such options. And month stock options are they expire on monthly basis. So I don't have that much capacity to wait for an entire month to take profits. So do it on a weekly basis, twice in a week. And regarding strategies, I've already mentioned it's purely discretionary. I can change my view like I can change my t-shirt. So I don't carry any ego and all. I'm fighting against the market. If it's worth changing positions, you do it immediately. Um, I'm keeping the floor open now because this was a basic introduction, and I'm sure people will have few queries and all. So you can definitely ask those, and I can take one by one. It's over to you, Darshan.
Yes, Vicky. So, do you have anything you would like to show on your screen?
No, no. I mean,
You
I
check off
don't.
or
There is no need to share any screen and all.
done, done. So let's take the Q&A. I would request whoever is joined to ask your specific questions. So in detail, we can discuss that, and any concept that you would want Vicky to throw light on, or any query in particular, or any situation that you would want to, let's say, throw up to Vicky and understand what how he would react. So let's say I will start with the first question. Monday, the other day when the markets gapped up, right? So you said, it helped you average your position, basically. So the broad based understanding is your initial position is to test the waters. Once you get some confirmation, maybe then you would higher your stakes, or you would wait for some volatile move, which will help you get a better, kind of a entry. And there, you will put increase your quantity. जैसे हम बोलते हैं average up kind of a situation. So on the contrary, let's say that there is a negative news and the markets gap down. So do you have situations when you carry naked put options, or you are biased towards that and you would not carry a naked put option in comparison to a naked call option? As you mentioned that you are slightly biased towards selling calls because that's when markets go up slowly and steadily. They don't move up like 5-7% on a daily basis, or matlab quite often. So could you just share your inputs on how you would manage a gap down day? Would you have any put options open generally?
See, for selling put options, you need to have in mind that how much the market can gap down. So I can tell you my worst days of selling put options. I don't think anyone in this group might have faced such a day. And that day was the Russia-Ukraine war. So on that day, I had sold some put options, and the market opened right 200 points below my strike. So on that day, what I did is I was aware that this is a war-like situation, and market has not seen something like this earlier. At least we haven't seen. So what I did is, if my position went in the money, I also sold call options in the money at that point of time. And I think end of the day when my positions were around, so I opened right 80,000 in loss on that day, and end of day I closed my positions at 22,000 profit. So if you can understand on that day how much the options would have decayed even by having a gap down. um, so you need to understand when you have a gap down, on what news are you having a gap down? Is it a trade? I classify it into two things. So if it's like a regular, so just looking at US markets, we've gapped down just because there was um, some bad day in Nasdaq or Dow, and secondly, second option is that you have a gap down because of news like this, your Russia-Ukraine war. So on such days, you can be sure that if even if you sell some in the money call options, and even if you double, triple your positions, you can still manage. And yes, so when I use my 50 lakhs of margin, taking 30-60% position, 30 lakhs, I can take positions worth 1.5 crores. So people might be aware in this group that if you buy deep out of the money options, it allows you to get more margin. So on days like that, I keep such options open for me, that I buy deep out of the money options and increase my margin to the extent possible, so that I can recover in the fastest possible way. And such cap downs, you can be assured that market won't have recovery. I mean, it's very stupid to even assume that you have a gap down because of a war, and people will cover their positions and try to I mean, wars do make bottoms, but not on the first hour itself. So let's just assume that you will have a very bad day on that day, and just keep selling call options at such times. On a second scenario, when recently I had put options open, and I had month end put options open. So I was 2 weeks ahead of my our usually expiry. So I wasn't trading my weekly expiries. I was trading 2 weeks later. So that was month end expiry, and we were right in the middle of the month. So in such scenario, what happened is we were not aware that Donald Trump would be really so harsh on China or Mexico or Canada, and that was not the basic assumption of anyone in the markets. So at that point, I sold options and I sold put options because I was expecting that the Indian earnings are pretty much discounted now, and I didn't assume that we'll have further downside, but we did. We at least markets went down 800 points below what I was expecting. So I was expecting 20 to 800 to not be broken, and it did break smoothly. It did go below it. At that point, I kept on adding position till 22,000, and you must have all seen that how sharp recovery we had after that. So I'm not saying that I was expecting a recovery, but the beauty about options is that at some point it will give you a chance to exit even if it's not in your favor. So you need to have that थोड़ा वो हिम्मत रखना पड़ता है कि at some point you will start to see your screen on green. I mean, you may end up in loss, but that's okay, that's part of the game.
Understood. So, Vicky, you've mentioned about your two bad days, when you've been stuck with the put option and how you manage those days. Could you give us, because the group members who've joined, I've seen your performance in the last 1.5 week in particular, where you've uh, when on a trending day, we would love to discuss the trending day strategy. You've been you've taken buying positions, and major profit that you've earned in those 3-4 sessions, it's come from buying than selling. But as a predominant since 2017-18, when you've started your options journey, uh, as a professional trader, you've been a seller. So
Always,
how and
always.
why has been this change in your strategy? Have you like thought over it, practiced it before on a smaller capital? Because we saw 900 lots, 600 lots. तो वो जिगरा किधर से आया, और इसके पीछे का स्टोरी क्या है?
See, it's not anything to do with practice. I mean, how much ever you deal with options, you'll still have a day wherein it's going to be an out of the box kind of a situation or out of syllabus wala situation. So no amount of practice is going to help you on such days. It's about how what presence of mind you have when you're dealing in such situations. So for example, recently when I had sold options, I think it was around 700 calls I carried overnight, and the next day it opened around 12 rupees, and I closed it at 5 rupees after an hour. So later on, I thought that it's looking like a downtrending market, so I rolled back and I came much closer to the current spot. The current spot was around 450, and I sold options of 500 call 23 500 calls, and the market slid below. It came below 400, came almost near 300, and at that point of time, I thought let's just sell 350 calls because now it's started to catch a trend. And suddenly the market reversed and it came back to 23 400. At that point I was still not having any sort of confirmation that we've had a reversal, but at 400 it started sustaining, and someone who deals in options every day, experience tells you that some when the at the money options start trading way above their prices. So I know that for a fact if the uh, index is trading around 23 400, the 23 400 call options would be at the most 40 50 rupees, but 23 400 call options shot right up to 80 and 100 rupees. So at that point you can be assured that you can have a minimum 100-point rally from here. Otherwise no one is an idiot to buy options of 100, I mean 100 rupees, and you have when the market is trading right at the money. So at that point you need to know that this 100 rupees options can go much higher, and that is the point when I decided that I'm not selling puts today, I'm going with buying call options. Second hint that market gives you is, um, whenever you have an option selling day, the premiums would be dull and the decay would be really fast, extremely fast. So you'll sell some options at 60, you'll see it at 55 in a few minutes, and then 50, 40, 30. It will keep going dull. It will keep. So suppose it came to 30. From 30 to 40, it'll go. It'll just try to scare the option seller, and then come back and break that low again and start trading below 30, 20, and then ultimately go to zero. So you'll understand. It's like a uh, uh, candle of wax that you will see it melting right in front of you. But if you see that the options are not melting, rather, it's sustaining at that price, even after an hour, the 100 rupees option is still at 105 without any movement in index, then you can be assured that, it's going to be a big rally day. And at least in the past, when I've seen, so I'm not a guy who's always having bullish buys, but when I know that the market is turning bullish, I need to be careful because I predominantly sell call options. So I've noted days wherein Nifty has 400 points rally. So that at least helps you uh, identify some points that हाँ ये दिन पे ऐसा लग रहा है कि it's going to be a 1.5% kind of a rally, and that is the reason why you must have seen on such days wherein the profit is extraordinary. But I don't consider it as my general trade or general profits. Whatever that comes, it's like a bonus. It comes maybe once or twice in a month, not much. But option selling, it will help you on a daily basis. So even when on rally days you would have sold put options, but have still made money. But when you understand that it's a trending day, so buy options and make the most out of it, because you don't get such days every day. And even if you miss it, it's okay. It's completely all right. Just still put options in.
Understood. So what I understand from your last 5 minutes of conversation is that price action rather is one of the
Price
major,
action plus options price action. Problem
yeah.
is that it's very difficult to understand options because it's a derivative after all. So at
Hmm.
points you will see, अरे यार ये निफ्टी इधर तो ये 23,400 पे ही घूम रहा है, but the call options has gone up from 100 to 126. So you need to understand at that point that index में
Something
भी
is happening.
movement आएगा. So it's not very easy that you can say that index has moved, so my options will move. Rather, it would be opposite. So the options prices has moved, and then you will see far uh, movement in index itself, and it could be even the opposite way around. So you will have points
Hello?
wherein um the
Hello?
index
Hello? Yeah.
you will have points wherein the index has moved and the option prices are not moving. So you will have such scenarios also, and especially when it comes to hedge funds like these Jane Street and Millennial kind of hedge funds, these guys don't just deal in options. They have positions in futures as well. They have underlying index as ETFs. So you will have scenarios wherein they have uh, synthetic futures, if someone is aware about this particular thing. So when you combine the premiums of call options, put options, and you put futures together around along with how much premium the futures is trading, you will then understand at what point the index should be moving. So index जो स्क्रीन पे दिखता है ना, उसके ऊपर इतना जाने का नहीं अभी. Suppose the Sensex might be 74 500, but looking at the call options, put options, combined premium, and along with Sensex futures, you might come to a point that index to 74 500 nahi hai, 74 600 hai. So that is not a calculation that I make, but premiums dekh ke you will understand. I mean, it comes with experience. You will see premiums and you will understand that this is not the fair value of index which is trading right now. I mean, you can't have recently when it was purely option selling day. I saw the index suppose let's say Sensex was trading at 75 200, and you would see 75 100 call option at 80 rupees, right? So in the money call hai, so it should be more than 100 rupees. But यहाँ पे it was trading 80 rupees. So you know that index इतना है ही नहीं अभी. Might be around 50 points lesser than what it is showing exactly right now. So a lot of people get trapped in this thing कि screen पे तो इतना दिख रहा है index. A lot of people still don't know what is 3 p.m. movement, what is weighted average movement after 3 o'clock. नहीं पता है लोगों को, and then they end up, I've seen stupidity on Twitter also, that I would move to Supreme Court to drag SEBI in Supreme Court, and why this trade options have been trading at this price when the index was trading at that price. But you need to understand the basic principles first, how weighted average works. Even there are traders who work purely after 3 p.m. only on the weighted average moves. So it is that important, and most of my positions are worthless after 3 p.m. So I don't get into all that. So it is far more than what we can imagine. Options is that big.
Option certainly is, one of the most challenging, or most complex instrument that most people don't understand, but most people want to trade. And I
Problem
think
is people treat it like gambling, that मैंने 50 में लिया और 60 में बेचा और 60 में लिया 100 में बेचा. This, you need to get out of that mindset. You need to be on the other side, see how options are sold. I still consider myself as purely option seller. I get opportunities to buy options and I don't leave it. But then that doesn't mean that option buying is my forte. I mean, I would always stick to option selling.
fair enough. I think that's what we need to understand is कि 10 में से शायद 10 नहीं 100 में से 5 दिन ऐसे होंगे जब option buying will make you money, but 95 days, most option buyers lose money. And I think because I am a broker, I see a lot of people who are trading options, even from my clients. I have almost 300, 350 clients on Angel, and I see, I think not more than 3 or 4 people have been profitable trading derivatives, especially options. So I know for a fact that options is a very complex instrument. One of the reasons to have this session is to as Vicky mentioned, that ऑप्शन के प्राइस से आपको डेरिवेट मतलब अंडरलाइन का प्राइस समझ में आ रहा है कि ऑप्शन में मूवमेंट आया before the index started moving, and then you see a blast in the index. So these are the things that when you are on the screen and you've taken positions and been on the screen for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, 10 months, 12 months, 24 months. So it's been what, 7 years now that you've been trading options. I think what he's speaking in the last 40 minutes is more or less, his journey of 6, 7 years, and it's very difficult to articulate in a few minutes, or to theoretically explain it, because every situation that you will be in is going to require some different thinking, some kind of a application from. And this is what me and Bimal kind of discuss a lot of times, uh, regarding identifying a trending day. And a lot of the times you are able to identify a trending day based on certain previous experience that you've had. So the 23 400 wala, on the day when Vicky went long, almost 900 lots and made a almost 20% gain on the capital in a single day in by option buying, which he has uh, given a clear disclaimer that he is not an options buyer. That is a one-off event. It comes, it may come once in a month, it might not come, and he's okay to miss it. But I think that day was a classic example of something that we've seen before. Bimal, when you combine it with the MMI and you see that today there is a good chance that it might reverse, and it gave a chance. So basically उस दिन क्या हुआ था, just to give you my inputs on the particular day that Bimal has mentioned. So market was not breaking 23 400. It was a major resistance. Even on our group DM Finance, I have mentioned that about 23 400, if it sustains, we can see a quick move to 23 890, which was also Jerry sir's um, view. He is with us. I'm not sure if he's still with us. Yeah. So uh, the previous day, the markets closed about 23 400. नेक्स्ट डे इट गैप्ड अप स्लाइटली एंड इट केम डाउन. तो जो बिमल ने बोला कि 23 500 से वो नीचे आया. सो इट वाज अ सिचुएशन विच इट गेव अ चांस बेसिकली कि भाई जिन्होंने भी मंदी की पोजीशन करी है आप काट दो, बिकॉज गैप अप हुआ फिर नीचे आया. And then when it moved 400 points in a single day. So that's when when it started sustaining about 23 400 after going down. That's that was a day when, if you would have seen the screen, just the 5 minute chart, you would have understood कि आज कुछ बड़ा होने वाला है. And we saw very fast move. I think 23,900 came the very next day. So 500, 550 points in a span of one session. That's a move, which is very difficult to capture. But with experience, the more you invest your time on the screen, you will be able to identify. And it takes one day, one such day, and the courage, to take the position that, 20, 25% of your corpus has gained in one day. And in this kind of a market where making money is very difficult, most of us are sitting on our portfolios deep down, 20, 25, 30% even now. Uh, so options trading is something that I don't recommend, to be very honest, to a lot of people, because what happens is we've done some, academics. We understand the instrument theoretically better, uh, but many are not even theoretically aware, what is, as Bimal mentioned, what is a synthetic future, what is Greeks, what is option Greeks, what is the theta decay, what is the IV of the option. So theoretically भी लोगों को नहीं पता है, and they are trading, or they are buying because सस्ता मिल रहा है, ठीक है, 1500 का 5000 हो गया. So this is not the target audience for the options segment. These are the proper, basically, as we are all aware, markets are an instrument to move money from one pocket to the other pocket. So ये वही हो रहा है. A lot of retail will lose money to options, which will ultimately go into the pockets of the sellers. So that is what the option selling is all about. So I would now like the audience to, throw some questions so we can discuss it further. Anything you want to add, Bimal, on this?
See, one more thing. When it comes to options, you only have to look at option premium. I mean, your mindset should be only to sell options and earn premium with the DK. Don't ever have this, key. I would just sit back and wait for days wherein I can buy options. So buying mindset, say if someone wants to do that, this session is not for you. It is only purely, days when you are able and let me be very frank, that option buying I might have hit on one day out of 10 days. So rather nine I have missed, one I have captured, and that one has played out very well. That doesn't mean that, I mean, I could simply sit back and relax and say that, I would only look for buying days, because if it's contributed to 25% of capital in one day itself, then rather I would do it, I would just do it every day, look for opportunities to buy options and continue doing that. But I'm very much determined that I'm not doing that. It's purely, coincidence that it happened and I was able to get that. And frankly, if anyone comes to you and tells you that, option buying, may he, I'm doing my forte, and it's very, I mean, I wouldn't trust any such person. Option selling is still can be done in a professional way, but option buying is extremely difficult. I mean, I would put back currency traders behind option buyers. So it is that difficult. It is that, uh, and suppose it wipes off your capital. I mean, I cannot think of a situation wherein option selling may people might be thinking that, books में तो ऐसा लिखा होता है कि option selling means unlimited risk. But that is not the case. I mean, you won't have index opening 5%, 7%, 10% up. So वो थोड़ा दिमाग से हटा देने का कि options selling is like having unlimited loss of futures buying may be here tomorrow. If Reliance, suppose you are trading in some kachra stock and you buy futures of such a stock, and it gaps down significantly. I mean, I wouldn't call Polycab as a kachra stock, but you know how violently it behaved when the results were bad. And I've traded into stock futures as well, but for that I need some news. So right in between there was some IT company. I don't remember the name exactly because I don't track stocks so well. So it had gapped down 10%, and the circuit opened after 12%. And from 12% to 18%, I only took time to decide whether I want to do the futures or not. And at 18%, I made up my mind that I'm shorting it now, and I did it, and I closed my position when it was down 25% on that day. Uh, it was signed maybe. I'm not sure. Recent last quarter results, it was horrible. IT companies. So I have dealt in stock futures as well, but like I said, it's one of situation. My pure focus always remains on selling options, and it will continue to do so.
Perfect. And I think एक myth है जो मैं थोड़ा दूर करना चाहूंगा लोगों का. What happens is when you buy, let's say for example, you have 1 lakh rupees in your demat account, in your ledger, and you have bought options. So you are investing, or you rather you are trading on that entire 1 lakh of capital. Let's say you buy 50 रुपए का कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, 20 का लॉट है, $1,000. You bought 100 lots. So you've exhausted your capital. Now, if that 20 rupees goes to zero, you've lost 100% capital on the same day. But to the contrary, what happens is when you are selling options, so अगर वो 20 रुपए का ऑप्शन आपको बेचना है to get that thousand rupees premium while selling, you would want to put, maybe 60,000, 70,000 of margin. So your risk is 1,000 on a capital of 60,000. Let's say that position goes against you. You take margin benefit, आपने डबल डाउन कर दिया, आपने 2,000 के लिए गेम खेला है, which is basically 2% of your capital on a 1 lakh margin. I'm just giving you numbers for example. Uh, what happens if that 20 rupees become 100 rupees? It is, people think, okay, unlimited loss है, 20 वाला 100 हो गया. बट आप 2,000 कमाने के लिए आपने पोजीशन ली थी. यू एंडेड अप क्लोजिंग द पोजीशन व्हेन दैट became 5,000. So ultimately lost 3,000 rupees to the market, which is 3% of your capital, despite the option moving 5 times from your entry. तो 20 वाला चीज आपने बेचा और वो 100 रुपया हो गया, does not mean you wiped off your capital. It means that you took a trade to earn 0.6, 0.7% from theta decay from selling options, but the view went wrong and the position moved against you. At some point, you got stuck in that position. Let's say it's a gap up. 30 wala 300 pe khula. So it's not that you've lost 10 times your capital. That's not the case. What has happened is you deployed a margin to earn that 0.5, 0.7, 0.8% return, and the view went wrong. You ended up with a 3%, 3.5% loss on your capital, विच इज स्टिल रिकवरेबल. बट अगर आप ऑप्शन बाइंग में हो और आपने 20 रुपए में कोई चीज लिया है, 50 हो गया, वेल एंड गुड, यू नो मोर देन डबल्ड योर कैपिटल ऑन अ सिंगल डे. बट more often than not, it will decay and it will ultimately go to zero. That's what happens with most of them. And I've seen one of our very first client, I would not like to name anybody, but she has traded every week, every तभी तो सिर्फ निफ्टी बैंक निफ्टी था. Every strike that I can think of in that particular week, she has traded and she's burnt 85% of her capital in 3-4 months. And it's a good capital. I think portfolio pledge वगैरह करके भी वो time पे, now तो it is for buying, you need balance in your ledger. But at that point in time, even your stock margin was, this is 2017-18 का बात मैं कर रहा हूँ. So option buying is very risky. Option selling is risky, but if you have a strategy and you have an exit, as Bimal mentioned that, as Vicky mentioned that, you have an exit. The strategy to exit is very important. When you know that now this is sustaining, it's beyond my capacity, you
See,
exit that.
moreover, one more point, whenever you sell options, huh, so uska loss you can recover through buying, maybe. But if you go for buying, it's I don't know what will save you if you go wrong in buying, because when it comes to buying, the problem क्या है पता है कि if you have 5 lakhs of capital, you can sell 5 lots of, suppose 2 lots of Nifty, considering the margin is 2.25 lakhs, approximately around that. So you will sell 2 lots of Nifty, example. But if you have 5 lakhs of capital, I can give you in writing, Darshan, there is no single person on this earth who will say कि भाई मैं 20,000 का ही options trade करूंगा. Rather 4,80,000 I will keep it as dry powder and try to defend my position later on. वो नहीं होने वाला है. वो इनिशियली 5 लाख का ही पोजीशन लेगा, फिर 5 का कॉल बाय करेगा, उसमें फटका खाएगा, 5 का पुट बाय करेगा, उसमें फटका खाएगा, फिर एंड ऑफ डे विल से कि मार्केट तो ऐसा है वैसा है, एंड देन स्टार्ट ब्लेमिंग मार्केट्स. So market जो है वो है, it is what it is. It is a very dirty game. It is a big players game. Options specifically. Stick to option selling. If you get buying में opportunity, hop onto it. Take it as God's blessing, but don't consider option buying. I mean, it is extremely brutal. Like I'm again saying that 25% I made on a single day, I would still not say that option buying is safe or option buying has any future. I don't consider that at all. एंड ये जो करते हैं, जो 2 रुपए के कॉल लेके एंड बाद में एक्सपेक्टिंग कि 20 रुपया हो जाएगा, आई मीन यू विल हैव योर लास्ट डे एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम ऑन सम डे, and that day is won't that day won't be far. So please don't stick to such stupid strategies of 2 रुपए call का 20 रुपए हो जाना. You will have day, I mean you can put some money into that. Let's say you made 20,000 through option selling, and then you say that I'm going to use 1/5 of my profit for this day कि 3 p.m. मुंह में मैं लगा देता हूँ. Go ahead and happily do it, because ultimately you will still have pocketed 16,000, considering that वो 4,000 भी zero हो गया. But if you say that, I'm putting my 5 lakhs into option buying and then I'm buying options, so um, it's going to be very brutal. Secondly, like I said, when I even buy options, I use I mean, there is a name for that strategy. I don't remember exactly. I read it in a book from Ashwini Gujral. I'm sure people who are old enough into markets who might be aware that CNBC pe Ashwini Gujral aata tha. So he had written a book and he had mentioned this strategy, which is used in casinos, wherein you put 1,000 rupee on the table, and then it goes wrong, you double it up to 2,000, you then double it up to 4,000, double it up to 8,000. So the logic here is that I have, suppose, 1 lakh rupees with me, and I start my bet with 1,000. So how many times I can double my stake? 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16, 32, 64. So 6 times I have opportunity to go wrong. Out of these 6 times, I have opportunity to go wrong 5 times. 30 बार तो correct जाएगा. That is the logic. And if you use that in options, then maybe it's still worth considering. But that too on days when you know that option buying does make sense. If it's on option selling day, and if you do this, then 64,000 will get wiped off from your capital. So just stick to option selling. Even on days when, suppose अभी मैंने जो mention किया 25% capital वाला, on that day you would have sold put option, you would have still made money. It's completely all right. But I reversed my position because I saw clear signs, and it wasn't a day when I wanted to miss. Secondly, when you said that you were trading 900 lots, so 900 no was not right from the first go that 900 punch kar diya. It kept on adding when I thought that yes, there is still more fuel to this rally. I mean, you can see far OTM options starting to shoot up. I mean, I saw literally 5 rupees options trading at 50 rupees. सो वो समझ जाता है कि वो स्ट्राइक भी कैप्चर हो जाएगा एट सम पॉइंट. सपोज दी निफ्टी वाज ट्रेडिंग एट 23,550 एंड आई सॉ दैट 150 पॉइंट्स अवे 700 का कॉल 5 रुपए वाला वो 50 हो गया है. सो समझ जाने का कि वो 700 भी क्रॉस होएगा एट सम पॉइंट. So you start getting into, and when I buy, I stick to in the money or at the money wale options. I don't look at out of the money. That is not the right way to do. In the money will still save you because of intrinsic value. Time value उसका बहुत कम होगा या फिर at the most होगा ही नहीं कुछ. So that there you can save yourself. But out of the money, if you get in, and if you get in at the wrong point, and obviously human nature है यार, वो 25 में कोई ऑप्शन बाय नहीं करेगा, वो 25 का 70 होएगा तब भी लोगों को रियलाइज होगा let me just get into this now. And that might be the peak then. Stick to option selling. It's a very beautiful thing to do. Do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and let me know if I can be of any help in that case. And
Vicky,
yeah,
why
let me
question?
again mention, I'm again mentioning this. I mean, the return on ROI which you calculate is should not be on how much money you are putting in. So maybe you can even buy, let's say, an Infosys or TCS, which is dividend giving stocks, and that इससे नीचे capital depreciation तो नहीं होगा. It's right at the rock bottom right now. So maybe you buy some safe items and pledge it, and then use that margin. So you can gain both from equities, and meanwhile, if your portfolio is not performing, the option trading money can help you, sustain your income.
So Darshan and Vicky, why I have worked with you earlier also. Earlier when we had started this program of option selling in 2023.
Yes,
I
yes, that was a very brutal time that point, because
yeah.
so इसमें problem क्या होता है कि you communicate something, and you say that you sell this option for 30, and then by the time the message reaches out to people, might be 25 or 30 or 40 or 50, whatever it is. But see, those were the days when there used to be multiple expiries, multiple indexes, and a lot of participants. Now market is much cleaner, much sensible, and you take some positional view, and then you can stick on to it. And hardly in a day, I mean, 1 or 2 times in a day, I communicate with my dealer. So इतना भी बात नहीं होता है मेरा उसके साथ. So you can imagine it's become much smoother now.
Okay. No, but the Vicky bhai, everything was means it was rough, of course, but things we used to do intraday then. We only intraday purely. We never used to carry our positions, and only the challenge that we had at that point of time was stop loss. There was a time when we had reached 10%, 15% of our capital gain in a month, and in one two bad trade we wiped out
Yeah,
everything.
it got wiped off. Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So
So विकी
वही
भाई
that
वो इसमें कुछ काम किया है क्या, क्योंकि वो सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है.
See, उसमें problem क्या था कि we used to take position at 9:15 and we used to square it off by 3:15, right?
Right.
So problem ये है कि अभी प्रॉब्लम ये था तभी कि इंट्राडे बेसिस पे प्रॉब्लम होता था. बट अभी राइट नाउ व्हेन यू हैव सपोज सेंसेक्स ट्रेडिंग एट 75,000 एंड यू से लेट्स से 77 और 78,000 के कॉल सेल करना है. सो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट कि इन 3 days यू हैव 3,000 पॉइंट्स ऑफ रैली without any news. I mean, news आया भी था बीच में, but even at that point of time, stop losses were not triggered. So, and secondly, at that point of time, I was not doing option buying at all. So right now, when you know that position is not going in my favor, ये 400 जो दर्शन ने mention किया 25% in a day, that was purely due to stop loss thing. So when market started sustaining about 23,420, I then realized that these call options are not melting. Secondly, I'm in a loss right now. The previous day profits have been wiped off. So I came on to option buying, looking at premiums and the far OTM options surging. So and they were sustaining. Market was also sustaining. So looking at that, it was easy to reverse the position and then bring it back into profits. वो जो time था, that was again option selling market, but then it had become pure gambling because you must have seen some people like Akanksha Gupta and ye and wo, and everyone was into option selling at that point of time. People selling courses, people doing what not things to get people into options. But it's become much cleaner market now, much sensible, and it's conducive for option selling more now rather than option buying.
So we carry options now. We don't do intraday.
We purely carry. So again, the strategy is Thursday 320, you take position, Tuesday you square it off. Simple. उसके बीच में there might be movements, obviously अपने against भी जाएगा, but you have margin left to add to those positions, and ultimately so you need to decide basically one strike wherein we know that this is the point, इसके beyond नहीं जाएगा. And I'm not combining fundamentals and technicals here, but if you listen to a whole lot of fund managers, you will understand that year end ka target 25 के ऊपर नहीं दिख रहा है ये. So now when you know that you are around 24,500 at this point of time, it was 24,300, 350 भी था, 350 से भी अभी 2 बार रिवर्स किया था. So you know that it's easy to sell around 25,000 KB calls. Even if you would have seen month-end options, it was really available at really good prices. So even if someone doesn't want, let's say someone doesn't want to do weekly wale, stick on to monthly and just sell 25,000 K calls, because you know that that is not the level which is going to get triggered at this point of time. Purely positional. इसमें the hit that you take because of price movements is quite minimal than doing purely intraday basis. And yeah, when it comes to suppose let's say you took position on Thursday evening and it's now Tuesday morning and the expiry day for Sensex. So usme it's not that I would try to make maximum profits and again switch my positions. I would stick on to what positions I took on Thursday. अगर वो ₹5 हो गया then wait for it to decay to zero and then just carry those positions home. Bas, that's it. You don't need to do anything extraordinary because this in itself will bring you 3-4% net ROI. So क्यों ज़्यादा कुछ करना है फिर?
And Vicky bhai, stop loss.
stop loss on an intraday basis we'll have, but when we carry positions, we still don't have any stop loss because that is not मतलब carry forward में तो किसी का भी stop loss नहीं हो सकता है ना futures ना options. We cannot have anything of that sort. But on an intraday basis, if you say, then yes, we have a stop loss. At some point on an index basis, we will have stop loss. Like I said, I had around 23,420 for that day. Once that got crossed, I took on to option buying, firstly recovered, and then I kept on adding into that position because then I found that more favorable than selling put options. So while we carry, we'll still have stop loss at some level. And yeah, even if you follow Darshan closely, you would have seen that Darshan had very clearly mentioned on his group that 23,400 ke upar it's going to be a big rally. So if anyone follows him too, so the views coincided that day and it was a good day.
And how much capital, suppose when we decide starting this program and all, what is the capital that
Start with 10 minimum because see, even if you do 4 lots of Nifty, to usme bhi 10. So I think that's a pretty good amount to start. Say niche, you will not see return. Problem is people want to see return, but then people would say that I have 4 or 5 ka capital. So do lot mein kya hoga? I mean, you need to sell literally 100, 200 rupees options just to ensure that it's a visible, it's a pretty good looking PNL. But proposed return चाहिए होगा, then I mean 10 is a good amount to start with.
so अभी कितना
10
10 में 4-5 लॉट जा रहा है कितना जा रहा है
if you
हाँ,
consider 10 तो 4 जाएगा, yes. And
सेंसेक्स
what you can do is, okay, if you want to return, if you want to maximize, don't follow my strategy of doing 60% and 40%. Do the entire 10 on one go. I would recommend that you take a bit safer position, but use the entire capital. And then if you want to, suppose on next day, if you have a very wild gap up or something like that sort, you can still add on to that position.
okay. So Vicky, just want to understand whatever happened is from September to March so far, April. How was your performance during this period?
If you exclude buying, it's still, I mean, much more than 5%. You need to exclude my buying figures because वो मैंने बोला था कि वो disproportionate figures दिखेंगे फिर. So considering only pure selling should be much more than 5%. Because since September till now, it's been a one-way, market. So you just had to consider resistances and keep selling call options. And at one point, I was into put options as well. Like I mentioned that before Trump's announcement, I had 800 to 22,000 ke put options. When 22,800 broke, I kept adding that, and when the market started rallying, I squared off all the position. Yeah, and also I had my position level to the extent that for that 1 week I was able to I was carrying positions since 3 weeks. So that 1 week was good enough to cover up for 5 weeks of not having any returns because I was just standing with my position. I did not square off that position. So this is the beauty about options that um, even if suppose for the current week it's not in your favor, I decide to go on to next week because I know at this point of time the next week options will also start to contribute. So that is also one more strategy. So it depends, completely discretionary again. If you uh, take it as a strategy, to nahi hoga. You need to take position as it comes. Someone wants to do stocks, I'm up for that also. But the problem is that you'll have to wait for an entire month. Usme, nothing else. And yeah, stock wise news and stock gives 5-10% movement very easily. So suppose you look at LIC housing, या फिर you look at some other, you look at Reliance, stock movements आएगा यार. फिर you need to be aware about that also. Index won't give you that movement overnight. On an intraday, yes, you will have 1% rally. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. 1.5%. Except for Trump news, you recall any market movements to me, which is like around 1.5 to 2%. Except for Trump and except for elections. Rarely happens. You need to step out on those days then. Mat karo.
I think what I was thinking, Vicky, is maybe we'll because we have about it's a Sunday and we just announced it yesterday that we're going to have a session. I've recorded the session. I'll share the recording with all the members. Whoever wishes to run back and go through it. What I'm thinking is maybe we'll make a group once again, and whoever is interested, who has the capital of at least 10 lakhs, and who might be interested in selling options to generate an alpha, uh, let's have an exercise wherein whatever. So basic idea of this product is going to be it's not an advisory, it's going to be simple. What Vicky is going to do for his capital, he's going to share it on a real time basis, that this is what he has done. And we are basically free to choose whether we want to go in for that or we don't want to go in for that. It's going to be a self execution product. We are not going to offer any execution support for this particular product. It's going to be very limited for people who are having a portfolio and have at least 10 lakhs of capital. So the idea of this product is not going to be a mass product hoga, there will be multiple clients. That is not the requirement, because what happens is ultimately बटन आपके हाथ में है, आप क्या दबा रहे हो. सो वो धीरे धीरे, अगर कैपिटल छोटा है, वो वापस गैम्बलिंग की तरफ जाएगा. So we don't want that. We want people who have a sizable portfolio and only looking to generate that extra 2-3% from option selling. Those kind of people to join in. So we will create a group. Vicky, I would request you if you can share some of your views or whatever you're doing on a regular basis for a week or 10 days, so that people see it, what's happened, and
Keep it two
based on
weeks
that,
because
2 weeks.
2 weeks will still have two Nifty and two Sensex expiries. So
Perfect.
uh,
So यहाँ से month end we are let's say next 2 weeks. Let's do this exercise. I'll create the group today, and whatever you are, or if you have a group, maybe you can add the people who are interested. However it works. So we'll create that group. I'll share the link with you all. Whoever
yeah.
wants to join it, just watch. Don't trade for next 2 days, 2 weeks. And uske baad we'll have a final Zoom meeting for people who are interested to join, and then we'll announce what is the product, how we are planning to go about it. Does that work?
Uh, yeah, it works well.
हाँ,
I
so
would
people will have
I would
रियल टाइम. अभी तक तो ये एक कॉन्वर्सेशन है, बट जब आप आंखों के सामने देखोगे क्या हो रहा है, एंड न्यूमेरिकली देखोगे कि अच्छा इन्होंने इतना सेल किया, व्हाट इज द एंड ऑफ द डे प्रॉफिट आउट ऑफ इट, और हाउ मच इज द लॉस एंड ऑफ द वीक, हाउ मच अमाउंट हैव यू गेन्ड, what is the capital on which this amount has been gained. So we will have 2 weeks. 2 weeks will give you a fair picture of 10 sessions of Nifty, Bank Nifty, Sensex will give you a good understanding of how this product is going to be. Based on that, you can take a call whether you want to join or not. But this is not for option buyers, and this is not for people who want to gamble. अगर वो पुट बेच रहे हैं तो आप कॉल खरीदोगे, वो रैशनल से आप ये प्रोडक्ट में मत उतरना. आई एम नॉट एट ऑल इंटरेस्टेड इन wanting people with a limited capital, very hard earned capital, to get into option buying or options without the knowledge of it.
Yeah, I
Vicky is
think
there.
it's more suitable ki people have a sizable portfolio, sizable by, I mean, more than 10, and then you can pledge that and use it so that they'll have a slightly lesser stress because the portfolio would be their main focus. So let
Yeah.
them continue with their portfolio, let Darshan continue with the portfolio thing, and leave the balancing wala thing for me for options. So do that, and firstly, see how it's done, see how it's working currently. And also, Darshan, I would request that I have a very limited time. So if you can take queries later on and bring it to me, I'll surely reach out personally to
Sure, sure, no
everyone.
problem. Sure. Whoever has
Happy
queries,
to
I'll make the group. We
make
can
a
post it
group,
in the
and
group.
yes, I can individually help with all the queries. I can definitely answer all of them because I love sharing ideas about options. I really like doing that. So you can do that, and I can pick up by the end of today. So happy to
Sounds good. So
answer
I
all
think
questions.
let's wind up the session now. Queries we'll take in the group. I'll make the group. Next 2 weeks, 2 full weeks, we'll observe how things go. And next to next Saturday, maybe we'll take a Zoom call and finalize how we plan to go ahead. ठीक है?
Done.
यार दर्शन भाई ये सबसे अच्छी वाली बात की आपने आखिरी
सर आखिर में ही सबसे अच्छी बात करता हूँ मैं.
एक्सपीरियंस आ जाएगा और एक्सपीरियंस भी हो जाएगा क्या है, तो विकी भाई के साथ में
नहीं
पहला
वो कैसा है ना, कोई भी नया प्रोडक्ट अपन चालू कर रहे हैं ना, अगर आपने जेरी सर का भी देखा होगा, तो हमने
Yes.
ऑलमोस्ट 10-12 दिन पहले तो कॉल्स वो फ्री ग्रुप पे उन्होंने शेयर करे। एक आइडिया आया, अनुभव आया कि भाई क्या हो रहा है, कैसे हो रहा है, हम ये चीज कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर पाएंगे, है ना। अब मैं तो विकी के साथ ऑलमोस्ट मेरा 10 साल के ऊपर का दोस्ती है, तो मेरे को पता है कि बंदे का टैलेंट क्या है क्या नहीं है। बट आप वो चीज अडाप्ट कर पा रहे हो, आप कंफर्टेबल हो, आपके रिस्क को वो मैच हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, वो सब चीजें रियल टाइम बेसिस पे अगर अपन देखेंगे तो समझ में आएगा। अगर दिमाग में बैठेगा तो करना है, नहीं बैठेगा तो नहीं करना है। अल्टीमेटली दिस इज नॉट अ कमर्शियल प्रोडक्ट दैट वी आर प्लानिंग टू लॉन्च, but last 6 months, if you look at the markets, they've not given returns. Rather, we all are sitting on losses. People who have long-term portfolios also, people who have been doing SIPs for the last 4 years, unke returns shrink हुए हैं because this is a market cycle. Every market is not going to be ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. So we should have some alternatives in our mind that okay, this is how we can probably generate some extra 2-3%. And let's say, for example, market starts trending again, we have a portfolio which is moving up, and let's say options में 2% का नुकसान हो गया, लेकिन portfolio 6% बढ़ा है वो particular month में, it's still we are able to generate that. The idea is to compound money at 24% per annum. That's the basic idea. Equity है, derivatives है, combination है, वो चीजें figure out करने के लिए हम ये प्रयास कर रहे हैं basically. So with that idea, I think I will end the session. Make the group, जिनकी भी queries है आप पर्सनली वॉइस नोट भेज सकते हो, मैसेज कर सकते हो ग्रुप पे. I'll add Vicky. He will address it by the end of the day. And let's next 2 weeks we will just see how Vicky is going about his personal trades. Then take a call at the end of the next week.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thanks
Vicky, for your
everyone.
time. Thank you all the members for joining. I'm ending the session. We'll share the recording by 4 p.m. Bye.
Thank you.